Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the invitation. It is my pleasure to be here and present you my company, U.S. Georgia Wines. So I can see the fascination in your faces. U.S. Georgia Wines, what isn't the state of Georgia known for peaches? Since when did they start competing with California about wines? So to answer, you've probably noticed my accent. And yes, I'm from the country of Georgia, which is located in Eastern Europe. And we proudly call ourselves the cradle of wine. For legal purposes, no, I have never consumed alcohol in the US since I'm 19 years old. But I'm from Europe, so I have in my life. Anyways, to continue the pitch, pun intended, I want to say that when I came to the US, I saw the lack of really quality, low-price wines. As a person who is coming from the country, which probably calls itself the cradle of wine, which was archaeologically proven to be the first winemaking country in the world 8,000 years ago, we really have a lot to offer to the world. Because of the history, we were part of the Soviet Union collapsed, we didn't really have the opportunity to show ourselves to the world. But over the last 8,000 years, Georgian people spent all their time sophisticating the way of winemaking. Out of 2,000 sorts of the grapes in the world, 500 of them are endemic to Georgia. Can you imagine how many different sorts of wines can you make by either producing pure wines or blending them with each other? Because these women actually reach the highest levels of wines, which are made with a traditional Georgian way of winemaking. Here is how we make it. On the right, you can see the huge clay pots where we pour these liters and tons of grape juice. Then we put it under the soil, and it gets naturally fermented. We leave there for 4 to 5 months. It also depends on the weather and the climate conditions, and we get different layers of alcohol. Then from the lower layers, which are more dense, you can make brandy. We make chacha, which is just even stronger. It's even stronger than vodka at times. Then from the top layers, you can actually make highest levels of wines. You make the highest level of wines. So what I want to do is that I want to help Georgia to actually promote this product around the world. And it's not just that I was like, oh, well, it's just a good business opportunity. Because in such a competitive market, the profit margins are pretty small. And to be totally sincere, I do it for a greater good. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, pretty much the only market where the Georgian producers could sell their wine was Russia. Because people didn't really know what was happening in the West because of the Iron Curtain and lack of exposure to the Western world. So what was happening later on is that because of the globalized world market, third world country producers have to adapt to the demand. Meaning that Russian consumer, which is not known to be the highest income one, they're not ready to pay a hefty price for the good wine. Therefore, Georgian producers will start to deviate from the traditional way of Georgian winemaking and in return producing the lower level wines with different winemaking techniques. What I want to do is that I want to encourage the Georgian producers who are making the wine with the traditional winemaking techniques, which are known to be very small in quantity, but very large with quality of wines. So I want to gather these bottles of wine from those producers and bring them to the US. I already have an agreement with quite a few producers. If anybody is interested in trying, I actually have some, not on myself, of course. So yeah, that's where the Georgia is located. My business plan is that I collaborate with multiple producers, with multiple wineries. I gather them to create a container because container contains around 17,500 bottles. And Georgian producers may produce those in the whole year and bring them here. What I have done so far is that I have quite a few connections in the northeastern area of the US, meaning Boston, New York metropolitan area, and DC. What I'm asking for right now is not particularly money, but if anybody's interested to support, of course, you're more than welcome, is the connections. Coming here to the US from total different country, I'm, by the way, the student here at Davidson College. I'm a sophomore. It was very hard to find the connections where I can actually push and find distributors to whom I can pitch this idea. So the main part of support will be to just allow me to go in front of them and be like, hey, this is my product. That's what I want to do. And then agree with them on the terms. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I'm very happy to answer all your questions. Thank you.
right. Good job. I've liked a lot of things about that. First, the history and the background on the winemaking, your connection to that, a little bit of humor at the beginning. You're a good storyteller, so well done. That's important, as far as from my perspective at least. I would maybe recommend that you tweak that just a little, maybe cut it a little bit shorter. And although your ask at the end was mainly for connections, I feel like even in that situation, there might be a little more value in some of the milestones that you've hit from a financial perspective, you know, good or bad, but just kind of where that stands. And also I wrote down kind of if I get these connections, you know, a little more specific game plan as to what you would do with that, if that makes sense. How long have you been doing this?
For 13 months. The idea is
Okay.
for 13 months. The company exists since July.
Okay. So you're in the middle of all the COVID logistics
Yes.
issues, and how is that impacting things?
It was difficult because being the student in times of COVID also had its toll on the time I had to spend on this project. But it also made something simpler because like I can talk with people in DC via Zoom, and it saved me a lot of time and money because I don't have to travel that much.
Okay. So yeah, my main piece would be just a little more information about the financials and kind of your long-term plan.
Yeah, thank you very much for saying that, because hereby I would like to thank the Hurt Hub and Robert Avenger Fund for providing $10,000 to support this project.
Nice.
Like, can we have one round of applause for the Hurt Hub?
Maybe put that in there, yeah.
So first of all, how in the world did you find Davidson College when you were growing up in Georgia?
Yeah, I went to the international boarding IB school, so the head of international admissions of Davidson actually flew to my high school and presented. Davidson is like, oh, it's a nice place. And then when I got accepted, they were very individual, and I felt like they wanted me to come here, and that I was not just a number. Like, they weren't sending the standardized text.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, they are very interesting and very personal. So I decided to come here.
Well, great. Well, welcome. We're glad you did. I'll echo a little bit of what Laura said. I think you do a terrific job of leveraging your dynamic personality and, as Laura said, great storytelling capabilities. I love the fact that you don't have to rely on a bunch of PowerPoint statements to frame your presentation. It comes off very naturally. So take advantage of that asset. As Laura said, don't be shy about throwing up, though, a few facts and figures about, you know, this is roughly how big the opportunity is. This is how much wine is imported annually, and it's X% of the market, and we think we can get, you know, just a little sliver of that, and that equates to this many cases a year, and sort of give your audience an idea of how big the opportunity is. You know, great comment about a container being 17,000 bottles or cases. I've forgotten which now. So, you know, if I could just do one container a month, that would mean X. So frame it out that way a little bit. I think I would move to the front of your, or maybe not the front, but sooner in your presentation, what you're looking for. And because people will kind of change their mindset as they listen to the rest of it. If they know, you know, the assumption, everybody's going to assume the assumption is you're looking for investment funding, and you aren't. You're looking for connections, which is, you know, a little bit different ask. So it's important to get that out there. Maybe at the beginning when you're talking about how you landed here, maybe a little bit about how you, and maybe you got this and I missed it, but a little more about how you developed your interest in winemaking. So it's clear that you know quite a bit about it. So you know, a little personal background on that would be good. But overall, terrific job. You nailed it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it.